Welcome back to Soul Back. This is the R&B podcast. Kyle here with Tom and Ed. What is going on, fellas?
What's up, players? It's been a minute since all three of us have been in the house.
I know, man. What's going on?
You tell us. You're the one with the small human you're taking care of.
He doesn't really know what R&B is yet, but we're still working on it.
Listen, player, judging by the internet, some of these folks don't know either, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Oh, man. Well, Tom, I think you need to hook your boy up with this Soulback R&B podcast. Let him listen in every week, and maybe he'll learn a thing or two about this genre.
Good idea. Maybe I can put that when he can't sleep. It'll put him right out.
Right? Well, let's start off, guys. I mean, we have new music to talk about, but I really want to get into this news. And Ed, it's not your list. Don't worry. We'll talk about that shortly. We've got bars for you. But
okay.
I want to talk about this throwback tour, Tom. You know, we saw the success of the Millennium Tour. Some people were surprised by the success that B2K and the rest of those guys had. Some maybe not so much, but Immature, which is Marcus Houston's group, they just announced a new tour, didn't they?
They did, which was interesting. It was, tabbed as the reunion, which didn't they have a reunion a few years ago, guys?
They did.
Yes.
So if no one really noticed then, why do they notice now?
Well, I mean, look at other artists, not just my boys Immature, but it seems like, especially in other genres, they have reunion tours and farewell tours, it seems like every 3 years, but it works because a lot of fans are like, this is my one and only chance to see the Eagles. Let me check out Kiss. So why not IMX to jump on that bandwagon and get those reunion coins?
Mm-hmm. Tom, let me lay out the artists for you on this tour, and then I want you guys to tell me if you will be if you guys will be going to this tour, because I know neither of you guys went to the Millennium Tour. So we have it. We went to Immature. Immature will be on this tour. Day 26, Tom, another group that has a reunion tour every year.
Minus one member, by the way. Did you guys notice? There's only 4.
I did notice. Shout out to your boy. I don't know what's
Yes.
up with that.
That's my boy Brian Angel, the R&B draft champion. Let me remind you guys of that.
Don't remind me of that.
We have our boy Jay Holiday. We have Ed, your boy Ray J.
My boy.
And Tom, your prayers have been answered. I know you were really sad that this group didn't make it onto the Millennium Tour, and you went ahead and did some research on them, but B5, Tom, will be on this tour. Aren't you excited about that?
Well, I'm just still trying to figure out, do they just dance or do they actually sing songs?
Oh my God, B5 has songs. Calm down.
When I saw them perform at their album listening event or single release event, they didn't even sing. They just danced to 2 songs. I'm serious.
That's interesting.
Well, I'd pay $70
$70
to see a bunch of guys windmill on the dance floor. That's kind of cool. That's talent right there.
Well, what's weird about this tour, though, is and we talked about this a little bit before off air. The mix is weird. When I look at this group, you got B5, you got Day 26, you got Jay Holiday, you got Ray J. That's sort of one era. Immature is kind of like the era before, because when I was in like middle school, that's the group that the kids were going nuts over. Like the girls were like screaming and killing themselves over. But we kind of aged out of that by the time B5 and Day 26 came along. I know that there's probably some camaraderie with especially Marcus Houston's solo run going into the early 2000s. But it's kind of weird that they're kind of headlining a tour with a bunch of people that are kind of like the next generation.
I agree. And I'm not convinced that Ray J isn't the headliner. That guy's ego would not allow him to open up for anyone. Come on.
Right. Tom, I'm going to put it on you. What would make sense for who goes first and who goes last on this tour?
You got to have a B5 opening, right? I would have B5, Jay Holiday, Day 26, Ray J, and then Immature.
Yeah, that agree.
I mean, I can't see it any other way.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. On this tour, who has the biggest records?
Well, it depends what you're counting as hit records, and are you counting Marcus Houston's hits as immature hits? Like, how does that work?
Sure. For argument's sake, let's say that they count.
Well, obviously they're probably number one. I mean, Ray J had a couple hits.
Yeah, he had
Jay
a couple.
Holiday had. Mm-hmm.
I think Ray J and Jay Holiday are pretty even. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Immature runs away with this one.
Right.
I mean, Day 26 had a couple singles. I don't know if they were hits. And
Tom still
B5,
can't
I have
name
no
a
idea.
B5 song, so there you go.
I have no idea.
One omission from this tour is Sammy. Sammy got screwed twice, guys.
Oh my gosh. And I think you're the only one that has noticed poor Sammy hasn't gotten on board. But honestly, if you look at this, you would think that there would be room. I would put Sammy here maybe before Ray J.
Yeah, Ray J to me was a weird inclusion. He just didn't seem like someone who'd be part of one of these type of things and would go about
Not
it
at all.
quietly.
You guys just don't want him to...
Let me make a comment, though. Where are the women, once again? Why are there no women tours? Why are women not being included?
Listen, I ain't mad at you. That's a great point. And there's no reason why you couldn't have thrown I don't know who fits in this category. Keisha Cole? I don't even know who would fit, but there definitely is room for some ladies here.
Yeah.
What's
Our girl
Cherish doing?
Nivea? Put Nivea on there?
a good one. Yeah, that's a very good one.
Guys, we're still looking for Nivea ourselves, so I don't know
my
if she's gonna be on
gosh. Inside
Shout out to
joke.
Nivea.
Keep it on the low. Keep it on the low.
We'll get her on the podcast at some point.
Maybe.
Maybe.
What time church get out?
Yeah. And guys, I'm sensing a little bit of Ray J hate coming from you guys. You guys just don't want him to sing his classic song, Sexy Can I, live on stage.
Actually, I wanted him to sing I Hit It First on stage, but that's just me.
Oh, my God.
You can't do that.
I hadn't even thought about either of those songs for about a decade. Thanks for reminding me, guys.
Well, I am here to bring the truth to the table. And I Hit It First is truth, I guess. It's true we didn't want to hear.
All right. Hey, we can't forget about the classic One Wish. That's actually a good song. It just sounds like he's struggling throughout that song.
You are not wrong. I am not a fan of One Wish.
It is a good song. Now, I have one more question for you guys about this tour. So the Millennium Tour did arena venues. I think it's sold out pretty much at most of the cities. Is this an arena tour, do you guys think?
Ooh, it's going to be tough.
I mean, possibly. I don't see it selling out arena after arena after arena, but maybe.
I think I mentioned to you, Kyle, it might be like that other tour, that Kings of R&B tour, that Pleasure P, and who was that? Jay Holiday?
And Bobby V.
Yeah, those three. Remember they did some like random spot dates in the Midwest, and it worked somehow, but I just don't know. I don't know, guys. I can't see it.
I don't either. And again, and maybe it's just me being a little bit of a stickler, but I just feel like the immature audience and the B5, Day 26, everybody else audience, I don't think it's a clean fit. They will definitely, tickets will be sold, no question. I'm not saying this will be a disaster, but I just think it's a weird fit overall. So I'm not sure packing out and people hanging from the rafters, I don't think that's going to really happen.
Right. Well, Tom, I know you're a big Marcus Houston fan, and I'm an Omarion fan, but Ed, can you compare the popularity at its height, at its peak for Immature versus what we know for B2K? Like, does it even compare?
Yeah. A lot of times my generation compares it to B2K. In my opinion, I think the B2K hysteria was way bigger, and I will kind of credit that toward the popularity of 106 in Park, because them dudes was on BET every single day, it seemed like, jumping all over the couch, just everywhere. And Immature just didn't have that platform. They were on TV, they were doing their thing, but I just don't feel like the hysteria was as huge as it was for B2K. B2K's flame kind of went out a lot quicker than 112, than Immature's, but I think at their heights, B2K got them.
I don't know if you realize this, Kyle. When Immature's debut album came out in 1992, the group members were like 10 or 11.
Yes, they were kids.
Yep.
So, it's interesting.
And
I
Keith Sweat was writing songs for them at 10 or 11?
No, Keith did songs when they were IMX, when they were later. They were grown then.
Oh, okay.
But I remember, talking about age, I clearly remember a memory of sitting in the school library across the table from this girl who was going on and on about how she was in love with Immature. And this dude sitting beside me was like, you know they're like 11, right? Because we're like 15 at this point. And she's like, oh. Creepy stuff going on.
Well.
Yep.
Can't win them all. But, guys, can we get into... And, Tom, I know you have to go in a bit to take care of your kid, but we really wanted you to be a part of this segment of the podcast. And just for everyone that's wondering who our special guest is, this is our special guest. It's Ed's 50 Best R&B Artists list.
Oh, my God.
Which he happily put together for everyone, so there will be no special guest artist for this week. But, I mean, this is going to take up a long time. So, Ed, you listed 50 of the best R&B artists of the past 40 years. So artists must have debuted after 1979. So for all the Michael Jackson and Prince lovers out there, they're not on this list. And
nope.
I would just like to make a disclaimer, guys, or a note. You guys need to read before you guys start commenting, because I saw so many words Michael Jackson, and it was too much.
Thank you. You beat me to it, player. Before we jump into it, let me just give a little bit of background for people like, what are we talking about? Why are we talking about lists? So a couple days ago, here on these internets, days before this recording, by the way, make sure our times are right, some weirdo published a list of their 50 favorite rappers, and the list was horrendous. So bad that the internet went ballistic, and everybody was like arguing and going crazy. Like Joe Budden was number 3. It's foolishness. So that spurred a bunch of other lists that were equally terrible. So I jumped in, as you do, you know how I do, and I created a top 50 hip-hop list that, of course, everyone yelled about and were like, oh, it's too biased to 90s. Well, sorry, that was the better era. Sorry I didn't have Drake on the list. But after arguing with a bunch of folks, they were like, look, you got to do an R&B list. You got to do an R&B. I haven't seen an R&B list. And I was like, I'm list out. But then an R&B list came up, and player, the R&B list had Drake at like number 3. Future was on the list. I could not stand with such injustices. So I was like, okay, I'll create a 50 best R&B artists of all time list. When working on that list, though, I'm like, it was just like overrun with legends. I remember getting to Diana Ross and being like, you know what? If I publish this list, somebody's going to be like, oh, these old heads, where's Tyrese? He's so sexy. So I said, let's cut the middleman out, and I will just do R&B artists from my era. So that's why I did from 79 to now. And yes, like you said, Kyle, I wish people would read, because you have to debut after 79, which meant no MJ, no Prince. There were a couple of others people were complaining about, but that's how we got to this list.
Right.
And Kyle, if you don't mind, for those who don't have it up in front of them, can I read off the list real quick so everyone knows the context?
You can sure read the list. Start from the bottom and get to number 1.
Yeah, I'm a New Yorker. I talk the fastest on here, so I'll be the best one to do this right now.
Oh.
Just kidding, Ed. All right, starting at number 50.
No, dude, I'll bust you up in a second, so go ahead.
Starting at number 50 and going to number 1, we have Jagged Edge, Gerald Levert, Brian McKnight, Johnny Gill, and Vogue, Tamia, 112, John Legend, Amy Winehouse, Joe, Janelle Monáe, Bruno Mars, Miguel, Tony, Neo, Music Soul Child, Aaliyah, Chris Brown, Monica, Blackstreet, Jill Scott, Mint Condition, Faith Evans, Drew Hill, Tevin Campbell. Now we're up to 25. We've got Maxwell, SWV, Bobby Brown, D'Angelo, Brandy, Erykah Badu, Destiny's Child, Babyface, Anita Baker, Keith Sweat, Toni Braxton, Alicia Keys, Jodeci, TLC, Sade, Boyz II Men, This is the top 10 right here. New Edition, Janet Jackson, Usher, Mariah Carey, Mary J., Luther Vandross, Beyonce, R. Kelly, and in quotes, yes, I know he's Satan. And finally, Whitney Houston at number 1.
Wow.
Remind me to tell you about the R. Kelly thing, because the reactions to that have been interesting.
Tom, before you get into your thoughts, can I please give you a shout out?
Yes.
That grilled chicken must be working because your cardio is off the chain. I would have died at like number 26 if I had to list every artist. That was a lot of
guys.
syllables and pronunciation there.
Ted, put down the Taco Bell and get your grilled chicken up like Tom, and you'll be good.
Yep.
No seasoning on it though.
No seasoning, no.
Ugh.
All right. So, Ed, how did you even come up with this list? What are the qualifications? Because Tom and I are trying to figure that out.
All right. Here's a good thing that people have to keep in mind, because I've been arguing with folks all for like a week about this list. The qualifications, which I actually spelled out on the rap list. I didn't spell it out on this list because I didn't have room. There were 4 things that I use: skill, impact, influence, and consistency. Keep in mind, y'all, this is not a list of the 50 best singers. If it was, Kiki would be on this list, and your girl Janet would be like number 473. So this is not a list of best singers.
No.
It is a
Wow.
list based on those 4 categories. So it did have to do with how good your albums were, or sometimes how high your profile is, how consistent you've been. Also, it's sure ain't Ed's favorite list, because if it was, Cousin Chris wouldn't be up there. You sure wouldn't have R. Kelly up there. And my man Keith wouldn't be floating around whatever number he was. So, as an unbiased source, I had to look at the past 40 years and see how consistent they were, how impressive their music was. Of course, their vocals played some factor, but also just how much their music has influenced R&B and their careers themselves. So, there you go.
All right. So, Tom, before we get into thrashing this list, or I don't know if you're going to thrash it, can you start off by complimenting this list? What do you see in here that you like?
Well, good job, Ed. These lists are not easy to do. Disclaimer, we're not going to do a list. We're not, we have many relationships with artists. We don't want to offend anyone, so we'll just give props where they're due to artists. We're not going to rank them, but I thought it was a really good list. It's always hard for me, though, with these lists, because it's like, you don't know who's missing. Like, you read 50 names, it's hard always to come to mind, like, who was overlooked. So, unless you're, like, unless you have, like, 300 names in front of you. So, I thought, Ed, based on what I'm reading here, there were some I would have definitely not included, because I don't feel like they were 100% R&B. But overall, I felt you did a really good job.
Well, I want to get back to that point about not 100% R&B, because that's come up a few times, and I want to hit back on a few things. But when you mention how you work on these lists, a lot of times, again, this isn't me going by, oh, let me just check off my favorites. Because you see, my girl Kelly Price ain't up there. What in the world? So I took basically a list of probably like 75 people, and then I went from bottom to top and ranked them. On the original list, because it's been a lot, I've caught a lot of heat from Genuine fans, because they were like, where's Genuine? Genuine was on the list until I realized I forgot Faith Evans. So when I put Faith in the list, poor G got knocked down to 51. So no G. I think after him it was like Trey Songz and then maybe Anthony Hamilton, something like that. So those brothers just missed the cut. No, I didn't forget about them. Of course not. But when you're working with that many people, folks get bumped off. I do want to mention a little bit about the pop versus R&B thing real quick, because that has been a big, big issue. And it's funny how subjective not only these lists are, but the designation between R&B and pop. Number 1 is Whitney Houston. I had many people that were like, she should be disqualified, she's pop. Well, player, if you look at the whole history of her career, Whitney's first album was pretty pop. However, by the time you hit the With My Baby Tonight era, that's straight up R&B. And she has continued to make that over time. Beyonce, whole lot of pop in her career, but also lots of solid R&B. Janet is the sister of the king of R&B, which is hilarious to me actually, because people are like, "Oh, where's MJ?" But you got Amy Winehouse on the list. She's pop. Not married. First of all, we couldn't have Michael on the list because he doesn't hit the qualifications. But the king of pop, he's okay. But Amy Winehouse, who did a bunch of songs with Salaam Remi, who was about as R&B soul as they come. No, a lot of people's, and it's cool that you have your own designation of what R&B and pop is. But the thing I love about R&B that we've talked about many times, it's a very malleable genre. That means you can take it and you can make it sound like hip hop. You can make it sound like pop. You can make it sound like many things. But if it has the elements in it, Amy Winehouse, for example, is more soulful than pretty much anybody on the list. That means that you qualify.
So, Kyle, what do you think that means for someone like a Sam Smith? Was that a snub?
Sam Smith.
I mean, if we're going by Ed's definition, then yes, it is a snub. But
no,
yeah, exactly.
No.
We're not going to get into that because
yes,
Tom.
No, I want to clarify. I want to clarify real quick because people have said it. Sam Smith and Adele. Let's look at them. Sam Smith and Adele are majority pop with soul influences. So while they make R&B songs sometimes, they are pretty much pop artists. People say, "Where's Seal?" Seal is the same thing.
Seal?
Majority pop.
Oh,
yes.
Man. Your boy.
You wouldn't believe. Wow. You wouldn't believe what I've been getting yelled about. But
wow.
Majority pop with some influence of soul will not put you on the R&B list. But if it's the other way around, okay, we'll consider you.
All right.
Interesting.
You guys done?
Yep.
We're done.
For now.
I have compiled with my fans on the You Know I Got Soul fan page, and they're my fans because they have some sense. I have compiled a list called the 5 travesties from Ed's list.
Okay.
Starting at number 1. And some of these are the opinions of the fans, and some of these are mine, and you guys will pretty much know which one are mine and which one are the fans.
You're going to get to work either way, so go ahead.
Number 1. Bruno Mars, Ed. You're talking about, some artists make pop, some make R&B, and, they might dibble and dabble. That man has made one full R&B album in his career. You can't put him on the list off one album, unless you're going to tell me Grenade, which I know Tom loved. And what else did he make? Just the Way You Are,
actually,
one of Tom's favorite
songs. Can we
songs.
take this a step further? Ed, I'm going to name a Bruno Mars song. You tell me if it's R&B or not. Ready?
Okay,
Just the Way You Are.
Just you that song you just said is a pop song of R&B influences.
No.
Okay, Grenade.
No, that's straight up pop song.
The Lazy Song? I don't know what that is.
Oh, that Lazy Song is not good. Don't talk about that song.
Marry You. I'm just naming all of his hits.
I can't remember Marry You.
Okay.
I think that was one of the more pop songs. I can't remember.
It Will Rain. I don't know what that is.
No, I don't know that one.
Locked Out of Heaven. We know that one.
Yes, Locked Out of Heaven. Now, this is when we get to the era that I want to talk about. This is when he started basically incorporating funk into his song. He had
When I Was Your Man, I would say, and Treasure, the next two. I'd say Treasure was definitely like a 70s type of R&B influenced song, I'd say.
Correct. These are funk influenced R&B songs laced with pop. Yes.
Okay.
To both.
So then, all right. So then after that, obviously, is the 24K Magic album.
Right. So here's my point. That 24K Magic album, of course, we're going to classify it as R&B. Babyface was on it, blah, 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 blah. However, for the couple years leading up to that, he was incorporating funk into his music. So his music, to me, was laced with R&B. So it would be like saying, oh, James Brown, he ain't R&B, or the not the Funkadelics, the P-Funks guys, Parliament. Oh, they're not real R&B. No, they're funk, but funk is an offshoot of R&B. So that is what Bruno started doing about midway through his career. The reason why he made the list is because, number one, that album was just that good. But number two, he has been kind of a purveyor of funk for the past few years. That's why he slid on the list. Okay. Good question, though.
Yet, Mr. Justin Timberlake is not on the list, Ed? Are we not considering Rock Your Body an R&B song?
No, I'm glad you brought that up.
Suit and Tie?
Glad you brought that up. Here's the difference. JT's best album, whereas we were talking about how Bruno's best album was kind of like an R&B album laced with pop, JT's best album was a pop album laced with R&B.
No.
You're not gonna say no. You're not gonna say "Sexy Back" is an R&B classic. No, you're gonna be like, no, that's EDM influence. Most of his bigger hits are pop influenced songs. The reason why you say no is because the same reason people say Rihanna's R&B, because she has been working with alongside artists, producers, basically black producers who are known for doing R&B type stuff. His first album, R&B. Second album, that's more of a pop album. That had R&B songs on it, but it's more of a pop album.
Well, you know what's crazy to me, man? Go ahead, Kyle. You can finish this one.
Ed, I was going to say, I'm on the Sexy Back Wikipedia page, and the genre says electronic R&B. So, it is R&B. But secondly, Tom,
no, it
I don't know
is,
if you remember, but
go ahead.
One of our earlier Soulback episodes was with Digital Black of Play, and we mentioned this song on that podcast. And Black himself said this song is inspired. It comes from the R&B and gospel world. That's what he hears when he hears this song.
He hears that in Sexy Back?
Yep. And we can't disagree with Digital Black.
Listen, Digital Black, my man, but I'm going to disagree hard with that one. The only way he's saying that it's gospel influence is because it's got the call and response. That's what he's saying there. But that's not, no. It is, that song is what helped inspire the EDM movement. While all these oh my gods and terrible songs from the Black Eyed Peas do, that really is what kicked off that genre. So that's a whole side conversation. But no, I'm not dissing that album. But to me, that album leans way more pop than something like 24 Karat Magic.
All right, hold on. So you gave us your argument for Bruno Mars, right?
Yeah.
I'm still not over this. Now I'm looking at the list and the people behind Bruno Mars. You're telling me from his one album of R&B plus a few other singles in his career that he's had that were R&B is a bigger contribution to the genre than someone like Joe, who's had over 10 R&B albums, and the same thing with Brian McKnight? Are you kidding me?
Yes, because Brian, listen, I know y'all love Joe. I know everybody loves, and I won't even get on Brian McKnight because I have had my ups and downs with Brian for a long time. Joe has been one of the most consistent voices in R&B pretty much past 2 decades. No question. But Joe, has he ever had anything with a mainstream impact of what Bruno has done? Not close. Not close. And that's what put him above the list. I'm not saying that he's a better artist, but when we're talking about impact and influence, that is what I'm talking about. He gets a little bit higher than Joe. And Joe, my man, but no.
I hate to do this, man. I'm going to have to bite my tongue on this one, but do you know why Joe never had the mainstream impact?
Why is that?
I'm calling the race card, Ed. Bruno Mars.
Oh, here we go. We're moving on,
He's not
guys.
black. He gets a free pass on pop radio everywhere he wants.
We're moving.
Joe.
Keep it real. No, keep it real. Keep it real.
Is real. This stuff is real.
Keep it real. And he's not wrong.
So that's my opinion on why Joe is put in one little box, and someone like Bruno gets exposure in every single format.
Now, I will not argue that at all. However, I will not sit here and act like that Bruno putting out some garbage and he's getting elevated for no reason. The boy is good and an overall performer. So I won't say that he was shortchanged and Joe was a better artist. That's not fair. Has he been downplayed? Has almost everybody on this list been downplayed because of that? Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. You ain't wrong. No, keep it real. We keeping it real today. I love it.
Come on, Kyle. You can't put a muzzle on us here. We're keeping it real.
All right. Well, we're going to continue to keep it real here.
We say that now.
This is also part of number 1 of the 5 travesties. How the hell did Janelle Monáe make this list? Listen, I love her. She's a tremendous performer. Her albums are actually good. But Ed, you mean to tell me if you walk down the street, someone can name 3 Janelle Monáe songs?
Well, first of all, here's another thing, and I'm about to call out some folks and hurt some feelings. A lot of the criticism I've been getting from this list is because a lot of people are living in their 90s R&B bubble. I said it and I meant it. Because a lot of people are complaining about, I can't name a Janelle Monáe song. Well, that's your problem. Sounds like a personal problem, brother. Because Janelle's last 3 albums, I think I gave 4.5 stars to back to back to back. Number 1, nobody has that kind of consistency, I don't think, on this list. Number 2, yes, the woman is R&B. If you are complaining to me about why isn't Prince on the list, but why is Janelle on the list when she is basically female Prince? What are you talking about? They're the same artist. She dabbles, yes. She isn't straight R&B all the time, but she is vocally one of the best artists on the list. By far one of the most creative on the list. And I refuse to let people say, oh, she shouldn't be on the list because I've never heard her song. But that ain't her problem. That's yours. Pick up an album, get out in 1996, and maybe you'll hear why she's on the list. Is she top 10? Absolutely not. But she is extremely shortchanged, and her stuff is way too good to be overlooked. She make the list. If you yelling at me about Prince, this woman's on the list for sure.
I expected The Weeknd over Janelle Monáe.
Well, you expected to get these hands. Ugh.
All right. Tom,
Janelle Monáe and The Weeknd. Good God. Who am I working with here?
All right. Tom, this was also part of the travesties, and this comes from fans and also artists and songwriters who are friends with us. The following people, Tom, people felt should have been on the list, and you can agree or disagree here, Tom. Guy, Anthony Hamilton, H-Town, and our very own Darnell Jones.
So,
Tom, you handle this and then let me get on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I obviously would have had the first 3. Guy, not H-Town, I'm sorry. And obviously I would have taken out, I wouldn't even have had Miguel on here. I wouldn't have had Bruno Mars on here and Amy Winehouse. So those 3 I'll take out right there. And you could slot those 3 in. There's others probably too I didn't even get to think about, but they would have made my list.
So who were the 4? First of all, we're not talking about H-Town, because that's laughable.
Oh, people love H-Town. No. Oh, and Ed, also Silk. People were mad that Silk didn't get in.
Now, see, listen, this is proof. This is proof that I am the most unbiased list writer on earth. Because if I left off Silk, then you know that I looked at this with an unbiased lens. Because I would put Silk on the list before I put you 2 on this podcast. So, obviously, if I left Silk off, I'm looking at this at unbiasedly. It's like my favorite group ever. So, yes,
Ed,
I left them off because of that.
Ed, yes. True or false? Your personal top 5 list from 5 to 1 would be number 5, Cut Close. Number 4, Silk. Number 3, Keith Sweat. Number 2, Keith Sweat. And number 1, Bruno Mars.
Oh my God.
I can tell it's a big Bruno Mars fan.
Move Keith up to 1 and 2, and then throw like Kelly Price at number 3, and then that's accurate.
You gotta understand though, when you hear these fan comments, it's mostly them, like random fans, uneducated, unfortunately, just saying, "Oh, come on, you forgot Silk. They were great." Okay.
Well, and yes, and what I'm saying is a lot of times people confuse this as their favorites. People want to see their favorites represented. So I have no beef with that. I only get annoyed when people are like, "Well, look at these facts that I've thrown in your face that doesn't make any sense." So getting back to the people you mentioned, no H-Town. I mentioned before Anthony Hamilton almost made it. Like if I made 55, he would have made it. Who else were we missing?
We would have missed
Anthony Hamilton, H-Town,
Hamilton,
Donnell. Yeah, I got a lot of Donnells. Here's the thing about Donnell. If this was a list of the 50 best 90s, early 2000 artists, no question. I just do not think he had the long-term impact. He had some great songs. He had a really good single that's classic. I love his albums, but I don't think when it comes to overwhelming industry appeal, that he goes higher than. I know people like, he's a great writer. Well, this ain't a songwriter list. Or Babyface would have been number one. That ain't what this is. I love Donnell, but no. Who was the fourth?
We had Guy, Anthony Hamilton, Darnell,
Guy.
H-Town.
Guy.
Yeah, Guy is huge.
Guy is huge, and yes, Guy I did have up here, but Guy just didn't make the final cut. No, Guy was on the short list.
Kyle, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
How close do you think Tank was to making this list?
I think, Ed, is he even in the 60s?
Player, Tank was not on my short. I wish I had the short list in front of me so I could just name them off. Tank was not up there. Anybody who questions Tank needs to hit up my boy Boom Boom Caesar or go to soulandstereo.com and look at my recent rankings of Tank's albums. I like Tank, but we're talking top 50 of the past 40 years, and you got 2 good albums out of like 6 or 7. Sorry, you're not qualifying. Right. One Ed, person I do want to mention real quick that I want to say shout out to my boy George Littleton, because he mentioned someone that was made the one argument for somebody that I was like, you're right. Charlie Wilson. And I will tell you why I didn't use him. Because as a member of the Gap Band, he debuted prior to our list. But he did have his solo debut after 79. So taking that into account, I probably would have put him on the list. But because I thought of him as Gap Band, I didn't. So he's the one person that someone made the argument for where I was like, you're right. So shout out to my boy. Because if I use his solo instead of his group debut, he would be here.
He's made the same album for the last 4 albums. I wouldn't put him in there.
Oh my goodness!
Come on now.
All right, I've got a couple more here. So 3 questions, and I think I'm already on travesty number 4. But this just came up. What album is better, Ed? A. Marie's debut or Bruno's 24K?
Ooh.
A. Marie's debut by a eyelash.
Okay.
Yes. She's
and
in the
what's
list.
The better? What's the better R&B album? A. Marie's second album or Bruno's? I guess he doesn't have a second R&B album.
Oh no. Man,
calm
I love it,
down.
Kyle. I love it,
but no. Bruno kills A. Marie's second one, and I love A. Marie, as you know. But no, A. Marie ain't getting on this list either.
Huh? Damn. All right, back on topic then. I've got 2 more questions for you. This one. I mean, we could argue till the end of time, and it's not really that big of a travesty, but you had Whitney Houston as number 1, which I don't think anyone could really argue with, except me.
Oh, there were some arguments.
I'm going to give you a name right here, Ed. Mariah Carey. She has she has 18 number 1 hits. Probably sings better than Whitney. I'm just kidding, I don't want to go there. Had more longevity than Whitney. Whitney kind of started falling off in the 2000s. Mariah has kept it strong, kept it going. Ed, Mariah should be number 1.
All right. I am glad you brought this one up because this is another one that has come up. And let me break your heart real quick. Because the same that's what has killed me about this list is that when people make arguments against somebody, they hurt the person they're trying to defend. And this has hurt Mariah. The argument against Whitney and Beyonce were that they make too much pop. Mariah, for you youngins who don't remember, Mariah started out as a pop artist, like straight up pop. Mariah didn't start doing R&B until maybe consistently. She always had a little bit of elements because she always had that soul in her voice. That wasn't until closer to Daydream, Butterfly Land. And in fact, when I was creating this list, I had the hardest kind of placement was Mary J. and Mariah because I kept going back and forth. I didn't know who should go first. The reason why I went with Mary J. is because I felt like she had a longer, more, as far as a tenure on the influence of R&B itself than Mariah. That's why I knocked her down to 6 and Mary J. 5. But Mary J., I love her. I mean, Mariah, I love her. But I feel like she is, when we talk about, Whitney's pop, Mariah's a way more pop than Whitney was. And even though Mariah has had a longer career, there's some peaks and valleys in that career, y'all. Everything ain't been butterfly. Whereas Whitney definitely has been a huge seller, 5-star albums, and even the albums that we don't talk about in the 2000s were still pretty good. I think she only has one okay album. All her albums are pretty good. So Whitney is number one was never a question. But Mariah, as far as being higher on the list, yeah, I wrestled with that one a little bit. But that was my mentality of putting her there.
You can't penalize Mariah for going pop at the start of her career. That was Tommy Mottola's decision. So
here we go.
So there you go.
Well, I don't like people act like pop is a bad thing. It's not. Like I have no beef with someone doing pop. People act like doing pop is like hanging out with Satan. That's R. Kelly. That's not pop. So it's fine. Like I'm okay with that, but I don't see this as some black mark on someone's career. But sometimes it's taken into account.
So Tom, what we've learned from this is that if you go pop, you too can be at number 39 on the best 50 R&B artist list. Bruno Mars.
Yep.
You put out an album like 24 Karat Magic, maybe. Everybody else need to step their game up.
Unbelievable.
All right. Tom, do you have anything? Because I'm about to get into the biggest travesty of all time.
No.
We already know who this is going to be.
Yeah, I know. Let me take a swig.
Swig of what?
I have
prune
a couple.
Juice?
No, I know what you put in your prune juice, so no. This is straight up water over here, dog.
All right.
So I had two names that I was going to mention before the biggest travesty, and that was Genuine, which you already covered, Ed. Still think he should be on this list.
If you're mad that R. Kelly's on this list, take him off and move up Genuine to 50. That's all I can tell you.
Our good friend Troy Taylor, super producer, was mad that you didn't include Trey Songz on this list because he felt like Trey kind of carried the torch for R&B when R&B was pretty much dead. He was the only one really making R&B at that time on a mainstream level. And he's had enough longevity.
I know Troy's your boy, but you know what I'll tell him to do? Go look at my review of Trey Songz's entire discography. He did carry it for like 2-3 years. But he's got a whole lot of mess in that discography. But again, he was like number 52. So he was almost here. I'm not taking anything away. But look, it's only 50 slots, y'all.
All right. And to the biggest travesty of all time.
Oh,
guys,
my God.
And Ed actually posed a question, Tom, to the people recently that asked whose love and fandom with their favorite artists is the most authentic and genuine. They asked about Tom and Musiq Soulchild, Ed and Keith Sweat, and me and Ashanti. And Ed, the people voted correctly. Me and Ashanti were close, we're tight. And Ed, I'm telling you right now, she should have been on this list. Are you kidding me? That first album was in the Guinness Book of World Records. World Records. She was the biggest thing in R&B. Had numerous collaborations, timeless classics.
She did a lot of songs with people. That's basically what you said.
And that counts. That's still better than Mr. Bruno Mars, who makes pop music. So.
Oh my gosh. You know who else makes pop music? Mariah Carey, that you were just complaining about. But anyway, I wish that these are times where I wish that we had a video recording so you could see my face rubbing against the side of my desk as you were making this up. First, let me go back to your fake news. The poll that Kyle is talking about was actually who is the most annoying stan on our podcast. And you know who that is? Kyle and Ashanti. So that is what happened there. So, sorry, it was not authentic love. It was annoying stand-up. Number 2. How many albums does Ashanti have? Like 5, 6, something like that? You know how many of those albums I gave over 3.5 stars to? Maybe 1. There's no way your girl getting on this list. This isn't an Instagram finest women on IG list, so she ain't gonna make it.
All right. Well, Ed, in my personal opinion, Ashanti should still be on the list.
Well, if you make the 50 best R&B artists in Kyle's bedroom, I'm sure she'll be number one. But that ain't what this list is, homie.
Well, I'm going to go after this podcast and listen to Chapter 2. Thank you very much.
Well, it was nice knowing you. I will write your epitaph.
All right. So, Ed, I think that concludes our conversation on your list. I know that we could probably go for another 8 hours on, who should be number 1 or who should be number 15. But I think we've covered it all. What I've learned from all of this is that you're a huge Bruno Mars fan.
Oh, my God.
You actually had Musiq Soulchild in there, which I know Tom was very happy about.
Well, yeah, again, this is an unbiased list. And before we wrap up this conversation, let me just, lay this out. Well, let me lay out two things, because we didn't talk about the R. Kelly thing. Because I got beat up on both sides of that. One side, people said I was enabling a child abuser by putting him on a list on the internet. That is not that big of a deal. Then secondly, the R. Kelly fans were calling me a garbage human being for saying that a man who has not been convicted of a crime has been called Satan. I am a terrible human being. I have talked before about the R. Kelly thing, but I felt that if you're looking at this list historically, you can't leave off. I'm not one to be ignoring history, no matter what someone has done. That's just not, it's the journalist in me. I'm always about let's be authentic with history. So that's why he's here. Anyone who's ever listened to 2 seconds of this podcast knows how I feel about him. So I will say that's the reason why I included him. I threw some shade at him because my point has always been we can acknowledge what he's done, but never celebrate what he's done. So that's why I made the comment. Secondly, before we wrap up, I just wanted to remind everybody that these lists, it's just fun, y'all. It's just subjective, and it's just everybody's opinion. So don't feel like you got to threaten somebody's mama because they don't agree with you. I've seen some terrible lists, but they prove that a lot of this stuff is relative. I've seen some R&B lists, well, some rap lists especially, where no one on the list was out before 2011. That proves to me that you're 15 years old. But if that's your list, that's your list. You can't say it's the greatest of all time if you missed whole decades. Likewise, I could have put a bunch of 90s dudes up here, but Horace Brown ain't going on this list, dog. Sorry, shout out to Soul Child. Because there were other artists in that time period that I thought were better. So I kind of looked at it objectively all the way through all 4 decades. So if you want to create your list, you want to create your top 10, hit me up. E.T. Bowser on Twitter. I'll tell you what I think. People been doing it all week. But just remember, it's all in fun. And it's your list.
Well, Ed, I do feel bad that you were receiving death threats for your list. And I was going to say, after I saw John Legend on the list and not Ashanti, I thought about going to your house and deleting the save files off your Switch games. But I didn't do it.
I'm glad you did not. I got beat up for John Legend too, but people are like, why is he so low? Because he kind of overrated, dog. Sorry.
Low? Why is he on the list?
Oh my goodness, come on now. The man has gigantic hits, and he can sing. He belongs on the list.
John
Before
Legend makes
Ashanti Douglas.
John Legend makes people for white music, Ed. I mean, it makes white music for white people.
You can't even get out your lies.
All right. Can we get into the new music now, very quickly?
Yes, we can.
Let's start off by talking about Teyana Taylor's new song, How You Want It, featuring King Combs, Diddy's son. I really like this song, Ed. It really has a 90s feel to it, which most of Teyana's music does. But I did read an interesting comment regarding Diddy's son that said something along the lines of, he's never going to make it as an artist if he keeps sampling his dad's produced records.
Oh my goodness. You know what else? Let me take you back to 1996 when my parents were saying that this Puff Daddy guy is never going to make it as an artist if he keeps sampling the records from my childhood. I think Puff did okay. And I think King Comb, or whatever his name is, will do okay too. Sampling has long been a part of music. I'm not going to complain about that. I like the song. Of course, people are more raving about the video because whenever they can see Teyana do her thing in videos, brothers love that and sisters love it too. So I like the song. I like the video. she still is one of those artists that makes good songs, but just hasn't been able to like put it together and make like a great project yet. So I'm still really hoping that comes together for her because the talent is there.
Right. The next song we have, Mary J. Blige has a new song. No? Did you hear the song?
Yeah, people are really loving this song on my timeline. What's the feedback you're getting on it?
It's been 50-50. A lot of people are really saying they're not really feeling anything from this era.
I liked a lot of, what was the album with 25-8 on it? The My Life 2 album, I like that. Yeah. MJB has done a couple of decent things. I thought this was okay. I don't get the overwhelming love that some folks are getting. I thought it was solid, but it's not something that I like, ooh, I gotta throw this on my playlist. But it's a decent loose single that might lead to something. If we don't see it on a project, it won't kill me, but it's not offensive at all.
All right. And your boy Big Baby Drum, straight out of VA, dropped a new song with her, The Laydown, which sounds like something straight out of the 70s, Ed.
I have not heard this one. I think this was you telling me that it was sounding a little Princey, so I need to go back and check this one out. That one I haven't heard.
So, is Big Baby Drum a singer? I didn't even know this.
That's what he claims. He has long at times claimed that, I love R&B and I'm an R&B guy at heart and I want to do some stuff. Most of his R&B stuff I've heard has been horrific, so I won't judge until I hear it. But I haven't really been impressed in the past.
All right. PJ Morton dropped his album, Paul. This kind of came out of nowhere. It has a record with Jasmine Sullivan, but this song came out like 8 years ago. It's on the internet.
Yeah, what a weird project. Tom mentioned this a little earlier. Tom had to run out to, take care of his little man. But it's weird how a lot of these artists these days, and I don't know if it's just a Beyonce effect or what, but we just get no publicity, no lead up, no rollouts for albums. They just kind of appear, and you just kind of have to find them. And this project, I've listened to it in full. It's pretty okay. I think it's worth having the word be spread about it. So it kind of frustrates me that we have solid projects being put out with no promotion behind it. If it wasn't for this podcast, or if it wasn't for I Got Soul or Soul and Stereo, a lot of these projects would just float off into the wind. If I was PJ and I put this out, it's just something I should be proud of. I would be pushing this thing. It's not the best album of the year, but it's very solid. And if you're a PJ fan, I think you'll enjoy it. It's worth the listen. So I hate that it kind of just came and probably came and went before the end of the week.
Right. And Ed, we got to talk about my girl Ashanti's new song, and maybe this will put her in the top 50. Pretty Little Thing.
Player. Let me tell you about something that won't be putting her in the top 50. So I listened to the song. First of all, the beat just sounds like every other tropical influence song ever. But she's got like one verse. She sounds like the featured artist on her own song. Who's the other guy that's on the track? He does more than her.
That would be Afro B.
Yeah, well, Afro ABCD, this brother needs to be his song. Ashanti did nothing.
Well,
you tell your girl to get off of IG for a minute, go back in the studio, put another verse on this thing, and then maybe we'll be going somewhere.
And we might as well bring Irv Gotti in the studio with her. We need that guy.
How about no?
I can hear him yelling on Instagram already.
I can hear him yelling all over the place, screaming at Lloyd for leaving him behind 10 years ago.
All right. We'll leave Irv out of this. Ed, can we get into the play it please really quickly before we get out of here?
Always. I feel like this whole episode has been a play it please with your 5 travesties, but go ahead.
Well, the first play it please, and you actually brought this up because Tom posted the single cover for Before You Walked Out of My Life by Monica, which is a classic, bona fide classic. But the single art cover, what's going on with her legs and feet there, Ed?
Claire, I feel like someone needs to go back and look at this because it's like, how did you do that? It's her leg. It's like both of her legs. She's laying on her stomach, looking forward. Both of her legs are up, but they're like making like this diamond shape. So I don't know if it's like one leg that's against a mirror and it's kind of like reflecting the other side, or if she on some gymnast stuff. But I was like distracted by her legs the whole time, and not in a good way.
The next player, please, we have Ed. This happened in New Mexico. 5 Burger King employees lost their jobs after a police officer said that he received his order with a picture of a pig drawn on the wrapper.
What?
Yeah.
Y'all wildin'. Y'all are wildin' in New Mexico. Man, I meant to. I have. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, can we write this off as boys being boys?
Oh my gosh! Depends on how much melanin they had in their skin. That's the only way we can write that off in America. But you Canadians are lucky. That's all I'll say about that. Tom doesn't like when I get too political up here.
All right. And then the last player, please, Ed. I'm not sure if you know, but I actually help out a buddy of mine. He's a promoter over here in Vancouver, and I actually help him book some shows through our connections with our artists, because we're friends with a lot of artists. And we approached one artist that we're close with and said, hey, we'd like to have you for a show in Vancouver. And the artist team first asked, how much are you willing to pay, which is pretty straightforward, pretty standard. And then the second question was, who is the opening act? So when I explained to them that the opening act was going to be a local singer, female singer from the city, just independent, not really a big artist, just someone locally that's been singing, the management team replied back and said, we'll have to pass. We don't want a female opening act for this show. And this artist that we were trying to book is a female as well. I thought it was supposed to be unity when it comes to females.
You told me a little bit about this story before, and I want to drop the juice, but I can't spill tea all over this podcast. But let me see. But before I slander, I want to try to understand this, and maybe somebody can hit me up on Twitter. E.T. Bowser on Twitter. Hit me up. Leave a comment under this podcast if you want. If you are a female artist who has, and we're not going to name the artist, but this artist has promoted female unity recently. I mean, recently. Since you told me about this, Kyle, recently. Because I was like, oh, really? If this artist is promoting unity among female artists, but you don't want a female artist to open for you, if someone has deep ties in the industry, or if you're a performer, tell me the thought process behind that. Because to me, it looking like you trying to corner the market on female voices and you being petty. Maybe I'm missing something, but that don't sound like unity to your boy. Again, I ain't gonna name no names, but some of y'all favorites out here living foul.
Yeah, between Common telling me I couldn't say hi to him, or Common's team, to this where
that was Common's team.
All right, to this where this artist team is saying you're not allowed to bring a female opening act for this show. Ed, I'm done with the music industry.
Well, you can always get your dream job as the guy who holds up Ashanti's iPhone while she takes her photos.
I would love to do that.
I bet
all right,
you would.
Ed, let's wrap this all up here. Again, we didn't have a special guest for this week, but we'll have one next week. But before we wrap things up, let's get into the soul backtrack of the day here.
Yes.
Can we go with, and this isn't a R&B song all the way, but this kind of coincides with the fact you did both a top 50 hip-hop and top 50 R&B list. Can we go with the LL Cool J song with Boyz II Men?
Oh, of course. Classic.
The song
Love
Hey
that
Lover.
song. Yes, Hey Lover. Like that song, again, and I will, if you want to see these lists, I don't really have them on soulandstereo.com, but if you go to my Twitter, if you go to Instagram, which is Edward Bowser, if you go to the Soul and Stereo page on Facebook, all these lists are there, and LL ranked really high on my hip-hop list, and man, people had a meltdown. Again, it just shows that these lists are so generational, because for a segment of fans, LL Cool J is like this dude that just be in movies sometimes and stands at award shows licking his lips. He's a hip-hop legend, and that song is one of the best songs he has ever released. If you don't know that song, go check it out. It stands the test of time. There would be no Drake if not for LL. So get that right. Yes, I said it. He's 1,000 times better than Drake because he actually raps with conviction and not like he's asleep.
Right. And I'll say this about the Hey Lover song, the original Michael Jackson record, Lady in My Life. That song is fire, but this LL and Boyz II Men song is also fire. You don't get a song that you sample off of the other song, and they're both great.
And what did we just talk about? Samples are the worst thing in the world. Player, some of your favorite songs sample classic records that you probably don't even know. And this is one of them. If we made it through the 90s with samples, we'll make it through the 2010s and going into, we're about to go into 2020. Jeez, I'm old.
Yep. So I can name a couple of songs where the sample and the actual song were both good. How about Undecided and I Love Your Smile? That's a great song. Great songs,
one of those songs is great. I'll let you choose which one.
All right. Ed, what's going on with SoInStereo.com?
Well, if you want to get away from the list madness, because Lord knows I'm tired of fussing about both of them. Y'all done threatened my unborn kids and everything. It's just a list. Chill out. Check out Soul and Stereo because it's actually been a pretty busy week. I took a chance, and this was a fan suggestion. I can't remember who did it, but shout out to whoever suggested it. Asked me to go back and rank all of Kirk Franklin's discography. Of course, Kurt is a gospel artist, but his stuff is so heavily R&B influenced. As we talked about today, it's okay for both. Stuff isn't always cut and dried. So go back and check out my entire look at his, 12, 13, 14 albums ranked from bottom to top. That was a pretty good conversation starter. Also reviewed the new album from Rick Ross, who typically is not one of my favorites, but I actually like this album pretty much okay. So check that one out as well. And if you missed it, as I mentioned earlier, I did rank Tank's most recent. This is a pretty recent post. I think we've talked about it since then. But if not, go check it out. I ranked Tank's albums from bottom to top. And they don't really hold up. That's why he's not on my list.
All right. Well, Ed, guess what I'm going to be doing after this podcast?
What's that?
Well, I already told you I'm going to listen to Chapter 2. And then I'm going to put together my list. It won't be 50 because nobody has time for that, maybe except you. But I'm going to put together my top 5 R&B artist lists. Can I give it to you right now?
Sure.
It'll be something along the combinations of Brandy, Mariah Carey, Ashanti, Mario, and Genuine.
That's a good list, but I sure hope it's Kyle's favorite 5 artists and not the 5 best artists of the past 40 years, because then I got to throw a raised eyebrow at you.
The best 5 legends of this era. Did you see on Facebook I called Ashanti a legend?
I saw it. You see, I didn't comment because I had no time for foolishness. I'm trying to get that out of my life.
All right. Wait, Boom Boom's going to be mad. You didn't put Sierra on any list.
Shout out to Boom Boom. I think he knows what the deal is with Sierra. Ashanti might line up there before her.
Ed, that was the only thing I really wanted to hear. Thank you so much for that.
I am a man of the people, player.
Thank you. All right, Ed, I think that's it for this week. We'll come back next week with an actual special guest, but thank you again for putting that list together. You pissed a lot of people off, but I guess
that's what I do.
It goes for great traffic, and people are going to and clicks and views.
That's what it's all about. Thanks for wishing death on my family.
All right, I think that's it for this week, Ed. We're out of here.
We out.